All right, welcome to another edition of the Hardwood Huddle. My name is Randy Zellea, along with the first in command. He is the supreme leader of the Jedis. He is Bill Ingram, and we have our good friend down in Atlanta, George. Well, I guess I don't. Kevin, are you in Atlanta now, or
Yes.
okay? So he's
I'm
down
in
in
that.
Atlanta, Georgia,
Yeah.
and we have the NBA champion Kevin Willis joining the show. Kevin, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Trying to navigate through this COVID-19, working with, trying to run my company and keep my workouts going. But good though. Overall, I'm good.
So you said some of your companies. Let's dive into the business side of it. What kind of companies are you doing right now?
I design. I'm in an apparel business, so
Okay.
I've been in the apparel business now for close to 30 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, long time.
So you have some expertise in that area. So there's
I
so
got.
after.
I have a little bit. Yeah,
Okay, a little
a little
bit.
bit there. Yeah.
So this is a funny story. I met you one time, and I know you don't remember it because it was during a very hectic time.
Okay.
But I was an intern with the New Jersey Nets during the 2003 season.
Okay.
And so you were playing for the Spurs for the champ and won a championship that year. So
Yes.
in a technical standpoint, you broke my heart because not only was an intern with I was an intern with the team, I was a huge fan of the team, and I'm like,
Right.
so we're like, cool, we got Kevin Willis. I'm like, oh, do I tell him that he broke my heart because he defeated my beloved Nets for a championship, or should I congratulate him and just say, hey, you know what? You beat my boys, you earned that ring. So I'm gonna go with the you beat my boys and you earned that ring. So that's
Awesome.
the first.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So
But hey,
I guess
you got some redemption though, Kevin, because you played for all three of my teams, being from Houston, live in Dallas, and I covered
Texas teams.
The Texas Triangle, and you helped all three of them to some degree at one time or another. So
yeah, it was a great time. I really enjoyed that triangle, man. I really enjoyed it, and every team had its own uniqueness. Obviously, with Houston, which my first team, and then San Antonio, the ultimate, being able to win that championship ring, and then finishing up in with Mark Cuban in Dallas.
what kind of owner is Mark Cuban? Because everyone keeps saying like players will run through a wall for him. Can you talk about how he is with the players and the type of relationship he builds with players?
Well, through my experience, I mean, I was there for like 3 months or so, and just the commitment, not only to the organization, but to the city of Dallas, his players, doing it the right way, trying to extremely fair with the players, real with the players, a true NBA fan, committed to the game, and doing the right thing for the organization to assure that they have success. And he spared no change. He did everything he needed to do. He worked out with us as players. We could be in the weight room. We could be in the on the gym floor. He's out there. He's supporting guys. He's working out with guys. So he's there all the way, 100% for sure.
Can you talk about your time in Atlanta? Again, you were with Dominique for many years. Dominique was on the show with us, and he had nothing but great things to say about you. Can you talk about your time in Atlanta and what it was like being a mainstay with that team, and coming up short in the playoffs? What was your experience in Atlanta like? Do you have any great stories you can tell us from the Hawks days?
Well, I mean, I have a million stories from the Hawk days, but just being a young kid coming out of Michigan State University, being drafted by the Hawks, and watching when I was a senior in college, and I saw the Sports Illustrated with Dominique on the cover of it, and I told myself then I'm looking at some of the pictures inside the magazine, and I'm reading the articles, and I'm looking at this guy who's just this high flying machine, and I'm like, wow, it'd be amazing to be able to play with this guy. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm just trying to have a successful senior year and come out and high in the draft wherever I'm gonna go. And all of a sudden, I get drafted by the Hawks, and I asked myself, I said, this is the guy who I kind of looked up to in college, and I was just blown away by his athleticism. And all of a sudden, I'm drafted. and now I'm his teammate. And from that moment on, between Doc Rivers, Dominique, Tree Rollins, Randy Whitman, Scott Hastings, guys like that were there. They sort of knew the lay of the land, and they took me on, especially Neek. He took me on this wing, and we took off, and we never looked back. And we had some great runs in Atlanta. Those teams with Spud and John Battle and John Concack and Cliff and Antoine Carr and all these guys. It was just amazing time for us because we were all young, athletic, hungry, determined, just wanted to get some experience. And it just felt right. It felt right. The chemistry was right. All we had to do was just mature. And after the first 3 or 4 years, it started all coming together.
I've talked with Dominique a number of times over the years about how timing changes the course of teams and players. If Dominique was playing a few years earlier or a few years later, I think he would have been the face of the NBA the way Jordan was. But unfortunately, he was right at the same time that Jordan was in his prime, and Jordan was maybe 5% better. I don't think Jordan was a great amount better, but just enough better that he always got the better of you guys. But talk about how I don't think fans today appreciate how tough the Eastern Conference was back then. Now the Eastern Conference has been top heavy with 4 or maybe 5 decent teams and maybe 2 really good teams for quite a while. But back in the 80s, the Eastern Conference was just a brutal place to play.
And loved every second of it because, when you have the Chicago teams and you have the Bostons, Detroits, Milwaukee's, Indiana's, all these teams that were tough. They had physical, brutal type guys playing. And they sort of taught me my rookie year, going into my second year. And now it's like, when you're getting kind of used to this, and that's how they taught me how to play. And it was physical. Every night there was a power forward that you had to come to work every night. You had to come to work with this. And but after third, fourth year, it's like, what, I'm coming to my own now. Now I'm going to be that enforcer, that forward guy on the team that people look out and say, what, we got to make sure we come tonight because that guy right there is going to come every night, every minute, every second of the game. And that was my mindset. And it was just brutal, and I loved it. The Detroit battles, Isaiah and Lambeer and all those guys, and Boston and Larry and Chief and DJ and Ainge, Kevin McHale especially. I mean, those were great times, and I would never say or take anything from that, because even when you look at it today's Eastern Conference versus that, it pales. It's not even a comparison.
And we were just
adjust your game. I'm interested in how your career spanned that tough era, but also because you played for 22, 23 years, you play well into the kinder, gentler era that has evolved now, at least the beginnings of it. How difficult was it to transition your game from that bruising, brutal, which I loved. I grew up in Houston watching Hakeem. I loved that battle. The paint battle was what I lived to watch, to a time where that was no longer the case. How hard was it to evolve as a player in that transition?
It really wasn't hard, because it was, you play your whole career in this physicality. You got to bang down low, all of that. That was fine and dandy with me. But it wasn't really until I got to, say, Houston, my first year in Houston in 1996-97 season, and I became teammates with Hakeem Olajuwon. And Dream and I would work on a lot of different things. He would show me a lot of different things that were productive, even in today's game, where you have a counter here, a counter for that, the turnaround jumper or the face up, which he showed me a lot of. And then when I got to San Antonio, Tim Duncan mastered it. So guys were shooting these 12 to 16-foot jumpers consistently. It's just now that big guys like myself, 7-footers, 6'11" guys, they go out there beyond the three now, and they just let it go. If we had that in our game back then, I mean, obviously you see a lot of guards shooting a lot of threes, but back then, if we had Dirk did it, Larry Nance did it. I mean, guys who could shoot were big guys that could shoot really well. That's what they did, but they didn't go out as much as they do it today. But guys could shoot back then too. But now it's glorified now. It's all about the three.
Anthony Davis hitting that three the other night at the end of the game. I just thought, wow.
Yeah,
you know, that was. Yeah, I think he's one of the few guys that could have competed with. I think he's one of the few guys that could have competed. I think he's one of the few guys that could have competed back in the 80s, but also he's evolved his game very quickly.
I agree. I would say about I could probably pick about 5 to 10 guys that could have competed back in the 80s and the 90s and been successful in doing so. But outside of that, no. There's a certain mindset and mentality that you have to have. These guys, I don't think they would have been able to take that, the brunt of that, day in and day out. It would have been tough.
And Kevin, I have to ask the question because, again, you've spent a big portion of your career in Atlanta, and a young man who just retired from playing in Atlanta, you played with while he was a rookie in Toronto, or when he just started in Toronto, and Vince Carter. Can you talk about playing with a young Vince Carter? And I know you being a student of the game and love the game of basketball, how you were able to watch Vince's game sort of evolve and stretch out to a long career like he had.
Well, Vince was such an unbelievable talent, loved the game, committed to the game, and he wanted to get better. Even though, I mean, even when I was in Toronto and he was a rookie, he was our floor leader, and he was the guy that we depended on to get those buckets, to bring us home, hit the big shots, and the next in line was Tracy McGrady. And these two guys, if they would have stayed together, I think Toronto would have won the championship a long time ago, because they had such a love for the game, respect for the game, and they could play. They could straight out and play. And I watched Vince, and they used to tease me, and they used to bring me a rocking chair. They would call me the OG, and I used to tell them, I said, man, yeah, I'm in my 15th or 16th year, but you know what, guys? One day I hope you guys get up here one day. And I used to tease Vince a lot because he was the main guy who used to tease me about it. But now he ends his career where I started, and to play 22 years, I'm truly proud of him. To see his accomplishments and see the things he's done, and watch him from a rookie all the way to where he has played for a guy that's 6'6" and jumps out the gym like he does. To play that long is absolutely amazing, and still have some productivity is amazing.
You know, what was amazing about your career, too, is, like you said, you did the Texas Triangle. You were in Toronto. And you're also in Miami, which is something that it doesn't really be talked about as much as your time with Miami. Can you talk about some of the difficulties you had about leaving Atlanta and playing in these other cities at that point? Because back in that time, there wasn't as much moving around from team to team. You made that jump to Miami. Can you talk about the difficult decision about doing that?
Well, it was somewhat of a shock to me because I was being told at that particular time that there were just trade talks. There wasn't anything really actually going to happen. We're not going to trade you from Atlanta, and I kind of stood by that and believed in that. And next thing you know, second or third game into the season. I'm in Utah, and coach comes to me, wakes me up. I'm doing my pregame ritual. I'm sleeping, I'm resting, doing my thing. And then he wakes me up and he says, "Hey, I got some news to share with you. You've just been traded to the Miami Heat." And from that moment on, then it became business. It was like, it's not about, what you've done for our organization. It's not about any of those things right now. It's about, this is a business move that we feel that we need to make our team better. And when I tell people all the time, I can play basketball anywhere. And it was Miami, so it was like, hey, okay, I'm going from an amazing city to another amazing city, great weather, and a young team, and I'll take my talents down to Miami and just go out there and play and do what I do, and that's just play basketball.
Do you feel like, when I was a kid, the NBA, the teams were identified by the players? Houston Rockets, that was Akeem Olajuwon. You knew, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. The teams had their David Robinson. The teams had their Dominique. Yeah. Now, you don't know, where's LeBron going to be next year? I don't know. You can't even tell where the biggest stars in the league, with very few exceptions, Steph Curry, but KD, LeBron, Anthony Davis is a free agent. Have we sort of torn the fabric of the league in terms of fandom? Because to me, it seems like if your team is a different cast of players every year, it's hard to be loyal. I mean, to me, as I covered the league for 20 plus years, I came to appreciate the business side, as you just mentioned, more than the team side, and really stopped having loyalty to teams because there was so much turnover. You couldn't identify with the teams anymore.
That's right. And when you see guys like that, I guess that's the new wave of business, I guess, with the players, that you form and you team up and make these super teams, and you play them on team for 4 or 5 years. Okay, let's form the super team, and let's get together and win these championships every year. Which is that's the way it is now. You have to accept it. But my thing was, I used to watch guys back in the 80s and the 90s and play with these guys like crazy in the summertime. You go from California to Chicago, from Chicago to Atlanta, and we had these traveling teams where we go and play and compete. And we knew that we're having fun right now, but when the season comes around, Magic's gonna have his team ready, his players ready, his teammates ready. Bird, Isaiah Thomas, Terry Cummings, and all these guys in Milwaukee, Sidney Moncrief, and all those guys. You got the guys all from from Milwaukee to Chicago. MJ. It's about we're not going from team to team. If we're not successful, we haven't won a championship, or we come close, we're gonna stick in here and we're gonna stay together until we do win it. We're gonna add a piece here, add a piece there that we need, whether from the defensive end, whether it's on the floor, wherever it is. We're gonna add those little pieces. We're gonna go out and get our draft picks, but we're gonna keep our core team together. And I think a lot of that, when we had that in Atlanta, we built for like 5, 6, 7 years, and we were just on the brink, I think, of dethroning Boston, because we took in the Game 7, one of the most exciting Game 7s in NBA history, and we, as a team, we felt that if we stayed together one more year, and if we would have faced Boston, they'd have been done. We would have taken them out, because we had that experience, had that confidence, and knowing that we can overcome them, because they were getting older and we were just getting more experienced. And it would have been a natural thing for us, but they broke it up, and next thing you know, here we are now trying to get a championship in Atlanta.
And it's funny you say that too, because me personally, I'm a traditionalist. I believe in having the center, the power forward, small forward, shooting guard, point guard have the five position. And also the one thing that drives me more crazy than anything is the one and done rule in college, where I think from a coach's perspective, and I think I might be the only one who looks from the coach's perspective. We now live in a time where an NBA coach is not only trying to coach to win a championship, he's coaching for his job and also has to teach a 19 to 20-year-old kid to learn the game of basketball, because that's back in the kid's life, it's roll the basketball out and just go play with your raw ability and not have a full knowledge of the game. Do you think that the one and done rule hurts the NBA right now?
I think it kills the NBA from the simple fact that, guys have skill and talent, potential, things like that. But mentally, they're not. You might have 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 guys that's really ready for it. But the mental part of the game is what's missing. The maturity part of it is missing. You take a guy who's a kid who's 18, 19 years old, you take him out of his environment that he's used to. I don't know what his family background history is, but 9 times out of the city, 9 times out of 10, they're out of the inner city. So therefore, you take them out of here and you put them in $1 million situation. And then when the moment something happens or they're caught up in something, then you think it's the kid's fault. Or the kid didn't do this. Why did he do this? Why? He's not mature enough. He doesn't have the right support cast of people around him to make sure that he doesn't do these things. All he knows is, I'm in the league, I got a ton of money now, and I got all my friends, and we're gonna have a great time. And that happens. We all gone through that. But at some point, you got to know what. I would say probably after their sophomore year, going to their junior year, then you come into the league. You matured. You have some experience. You've been coached. You have some disciplines in place, and you will know more rights and wrongs than what you do if you just come in at 18 years old. Because 18, 19 years old, that's it.
And it's funny, piggybacking off of that point. Oh, sorry.
Hold on. I got to plug up. Okay, we're good.
And just
talking about that. Oh,
I was
go ahead, Randy. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, Bill. And Kevin, piggybacking off of that point, the last senior taken in the top 5 of the NBA draft, and Bill loves this stat, but the last senior taken in the top 5 of the NBA draft was 2006. Is that another big issue? Not even the one and done rule. Yeah, 2006 was the last time a senior was taken in the top 5 of the NBA draft.
Wow.
Do you?
Oh, that's a stat.
Yeah, that's.
I had no idea that was like that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's
bad. I think there should be an age limit. It should be an age limit, and it wouldn't be 18 or 19 years old. No way. I would change that.
Do you think that if they found a way to integrate the NBA G League to that, where maybe they can keep the draft with the younger kids, but make the age limit in the NBA where they can find a happy balance with that, where you can draft a kid at the age of 19 years old, put him on your G League team, have a coaching staff in sync with both teams, and then bring him up when he's ready?
Right.
And you can do you think that would be something the NBA would ever look at?
I think that's a great idea, almost like the majors, but they should have done that 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Then it would have made sense. Today it's too much. It's just too much from a finance standpoint, corporate, sponsors, TV rights. It's out the window now. It's too late to do it.
I'm a very idealistic person at times.
You can say, you know what? Yeah, you can. As far as the draft, you can only get drafted at 20 years old. You can come to draft.
Yeah, it's it's a system that's sort of broken, and they don't really have a good way of fixing it. And if I hear one more person telling me that if you want to, you can't tell a 19-year-old not to go out and support his family. If one more person says it to me, I'm going to punch him. But like I get it, but you know what though? Like I can't. You're not going to see a lawyer go to school for 1 year, then become a lawyer. You're not going to see an accountant go to school. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. So, Bill, I cut you off before. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I want to stay with your coaching theme because Kevin played for some of the greatest coaches in the league of all time, and I'm interested to know what you thought of Rudy Tomjanovich, my favorite. Personal bias, given growing up in Houston, Greg Popovich, I believe Lenny Wilkins in Atlanta, Pat Riley. What impact did these incredible guys have on your career?
Well, I think since you said Rudy T, Rudy is in my top, I would say my top 2 favorite coaches. There's no question about it. Because of being a player and understanding the mindset, the mentality, the disciplines, know when not to, things like that. He had a lock on it, man. He had a lock on it. He had the superstars from Dream, Clyde, Barkley, Mario Ellie. He had tons of guys. Pip, he had so many amazing players. But I found when he coached me that he allowed me to, do what I need to do out there on the court. He trusted in my game. He knew I was coming tonight to work every night, whether it's in practice. Didn't take no nights off. And when you have a coach that's relatable, player-coach relationship is really, really good, and they believe in you and let you kind of go out there and do your thing, I love that. And I didn't have that with every coach. But I still worked hard, still did what I needed to do, but I didn't see that commitment to say, you know what, I believe you can get this done. I'm gonna allow you to play your game, and if we do that, then as a team we'll be successful. But the number one guy for me is Popovich, by far. Pop is by far. And I tell that when I tell him that when I see him, and I also share with him, man, I wish if I could turn back the hands of time. Let's say if it's 1990, it's 1991, 92, and say when Pop became head coach there before Tim got there, and I just came in a year or 2 after Tim Duncan got there, I'd be in the Hall of Fame right now. Without, hands down, no question about it, because the ultimate coach, fair, honest, everything you can want in the coach. Popovich was it, period. And I know it's crazy. We won that championship 17 years ago, and time is just like a rocket, man. It blows by. But
17.
I think you just gave
both of us a reality check on how old we are.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And I when I see Pop, it seemed like yesterday that we won that championship, and it's been 17 years, because the respect I have for him, the respect he has for his team, his players, his commitment, and he just knows how to coach, man. That's all there is to it. He's definitely number one for sure. And then Rudy, man, sure can't say enough about Rudy as well. But that's some great coaches: Lenny Wilkins, Fratello, just good coaches over the years. Butch Carter in Toronto. But when you're talking about championships, yeah, Rudy and Popovich.
Kevin, I have to ask a question, but right before we went on, we were joking around about on how I used to work with the Nets, and you were part of that Spurs team. Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, since it's a very important season for you because that's where you got your championship. Going into that playoff run, the Lakers were the defending champions. How big of it was it for the Spurs organization at that time, for David and for Tim and yourself, to be able to take down the mighty Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant at that time to get to the championship? I know you guys played Dallas in the conference finals, but how big of it was it to take down the Lakers at that time?
It was huge because the Lakers were the thorn in their side. And I knew that and I'll tell you guys this story at a different time, but I knew when they brought me in there what the reason why they wanted me there. And all I had to do was go out and do what I've been doing for 18, 19 years. And I kept myself in tip-top shape. So I knew what my strengths were, and I knew what they wanted from me, and I knew what to expect. But I knew that team that we put together could beat the Lakers. I knew we could beat the Lakers. Not one shadow of a doubt that I said, well, oh man, we have to go. No, we are going to go through the Lakers. We're going to beat Dallas. We're going to come back and we're going to beat Phoenix. And we're definitely, once we get to the finals, wherever it's going to be, we're going through them. And when the story that I can tell you guys, and I'll tell you at a different time, is if you look at that championship run, every round, the answer was given to me before we started training camp, and how it was revealed and said and I knew it was confirmed that the answer was given to me way back in October, late September, was every round that we won, it was 4-2, 4-2, 4-2, 4-2. And it was my jersey number. And so when I was told that this is the year you're going to win the championship, and how I'm going to show you how we did it, that when I speak to you and I tell you upon your heart that you're going to win it, every round is going to be 4-2, 4-2, 4-2, 4-2. And that's just how it came out. And when we played the Lakers, I just had this humble confidence that they cannot beat us. They're not going to beat us. No one's going to beat us. Once we get to this point, we're going all the way. And we came out just like that. We did. Yeah. Amazing.
And what was it like? What was it like in that NBA Finals series? You played again a Nets team that I was very familiar with. They were a run and gun team, not much on a half court offense. They defeated the Celtics. The Celtics and the Detroit Pistons. They didn't lose in round 2 or 3. Finished Milwaukee up in 6, and then they were licking their chops, wanting to get back to the NBA Finals after getting swept by the Lakers the year before. Can you talk about what was going on around the Spurs at that time, going into the NBA Finals? I guess David knew at that time this was going to be it for him. This was his last hurrah with the team. What was it like being in that Spurs locker, getting ready to play the New Jersey Nets for that NBA Finals?
Exciting, man. I was just like excited, but extremely focused and serious. I was so serious that I didn't want no one standing at my house. I was like, everybody got to go. You got to go, because I don't want any distractions. I don't want to get off kilter. I have to be ready for this. This is my only. I felt this is the only time. If we're going to win it, we're going to win it this year. We're going to win it now, and no distractions. So it was nerve-wracking in the sense that you want to get it going. You want all the players to be, injured-free. You want Tim to be healthy. You want Tony to be healthy. And then when Tony got sick in the series against Dallas, he couldn't come out the hotel room. He came and he tried. but the experience of Steve Kerr, Speedy Claxton, Steven Jackson, these guys just all of a sudden caught fire, man, and we just pulled these things out, man. But it was really nerve-wracking, fun, and
Yeah, I just can only imagine. You know, I remember being, like I said, I was there, especially for games 3, 4, and 5. You guys won 2 out of 3 in the Meadowlands, and it was a crazy. That was a crazy time, and you know, you had a few more seasons after that. I know you made a TV appearance on Pros versus Joes. What was that like? I think we lost the volume here for Kevin.
I thought it might have been me.
Yeah.
We lost your volume, Kevin. Can you hear us?
Okay, maybe it's.
Oh, when you moved your phone, we got it back for a second.
You got me?
Yeah, you got you. Now we got you.
There we go. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. So,
Good.
yeah, I think now we got you. So I'll repeat the question one more time about Pros and Joes after your.
Okay. Yeah, Pros and Joes was fun. We were able to meet a lot of players from baseball, wrestlers, boxers. I mean, it was a great time. We stayed out in LA for about a week filming this thing, and they invited me back for the finale, and then went back out again. It's a great time. It was fun. Met a lot of great guys.
Did you pick up anything?
What do you think about?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead, Bill.
What do you think about? You know, there are people who say athletes should play their sport and not speak out about social issues and what's going on in our country. What do you think about that?
Hold on. It's a lot of fuzzing.
What do you think about, you know, all the guys wearing all the guys wearing their Black Lives Matter on their jersey and speaking out against some of the injustices that are happening in our country? Where do you stand on that?
I stand right behind them, because even though we all know that Black Lives Matter, and the way that we are being treated or underappreciated, or you're looking at how when you see these murders or the police being overly aggressive and either shooting someone or killing an African American person, or just totally just taking it to this next level. It's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking, because we all are equal. We are all human, and to be looked upon less than, it's a hard pill to swallow. And we need to be a little bit more respectful, a little bit more attentive and caring, opposed to just treating someone like an animal. And that's not good. So when you see the Chris Pauls and LeBrons and Anthony Davis, or whomever players, I don't care who it is, with them standing up, and the league, them ready to walk off the court and saying, you know what, we're not going to tolerate this. That's real, and I'm behind them 1,000%. And because if I was, you don't have to be an athlete right now to be playing to do it, but I've created my own sort of movement with this, through messages that I create through my company, to help promote and heal some of these ill wills out there now.
How important is it to get? This is the emphasis of the NBA, and I love it, because I agree. How important is it to get everybody out to vote? We have such a small percentage of people who show up at the ballot when you consider our entire population. This is a pretty critical time in America for us to step up and decide what we want our country to be.
Right. It's hard, guys. It's really fuzzy.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Let's see if we can fix it a little bit. Yeah, it is very staticky. Let me know how this is right now. Can you hear me? I can control this end of it. So,
Is that better, Kevin?
A little, just a little, not a lot.
Okay, my last question was just, how important is it to get everybody out to vote? That's the focus the NBA has chosen. And what role can NBA players play in encouraging their fans, their Twitter followers, to get out and take part in our democratic process?
You have to. And they need to. If you have, obviously, they're on the biggest platform. Not only at NBA, but NFL, MLB, UFC. I don't care what team it is. To get out there on their platform, to get that message out there, and us be disciplined enough to go out and say, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to mail these votes in. We're going to go out to the polls and cast our votes, and we have to do what's right. If not, it's just going to continue on this bad cycle. And no one needs that. No one needs that at all. With COVID on top of it, it's a recipe for disaster.
Kevin, my last question for you is one. It seems to be the popular question for all NBA fans. The question is: you played with Vince Carter, you played against Michael, and you were in the league when LeBron was here. Who would you say is the best that you've got to play against?
One year against LeBron. Vince, played with him 2 years, watching his whole career. Came in with MJ, same draft. MJ has just, and we hear it all the time, but that era, that time and place of basketball, and what was important was eat, sleep, and play basketball, period. Money, we're going to get paid, but money wasn't the player's primary focus. It was about building a team and winning and competing every night. And there weren't any other distractions, whether it was movies, whether there were shows, whether there were gigantic, humongous shoe contracts. That had a very little to do with us getting ready to play basketball. And when I look at MJ, the better work he's done, what LeBron has done is absolutely incredible. What Vince has done is incredible. But Mike is the one. Mike is the one, period. From mentally, physically, he was the one. He would put the whole team, have the whole team in a frenzy when we played in Chicago. The whole team.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Kevin, I want to thank you for giving us some time today. I'm sorry we had some connection errors here, but I really appreciate it, and we hope we can keep in contact, have you on again, and we'd love to have you back.
Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. All right.
The great Kevin Willis joining us. Really enjoyed having him on. We got a lot out of him, which is always a very, very I think what's very hard about the generation conversation with LeBron and Michael, it's hard because it's hard because two totally different generations. And I was having this conversation with one of our writers yesterday, that everyone keeps on saying, well, LeBron is this, LeBron does that, LeBron does this. And I said, yeah, but Michael never joined anybody. to win a championship. Nobody,
Nope.
you had like again, you brought in Dennis Rodman, who was already an established player, but he was there.
But he
to
was
fill
not
a,
Anthony Davis.
no, but no, but hear me out here because this is the truth, and I think you know this with me on this. Dennis was there to fill a void that Horace Grant left when Horace went to Orlando to be the defensive rebound guy. He was not there because I'm going to go win a championship with Michael. No, he's going to help win a championship with Michael to fulfill a need that team needed. And I also want to remind everybody that if it wasn't for Jordan being in baseball shape during the playoffs the year before, they might have gotten past Orlando too. So, So
I wish they had. I really
wish
they had, because the greatest matchup that we never got in the NBA Finals was Houston Rockets, Chicago Bulls. The Rockets owned them in the regular season. I was dying for them to as great as it was to see Hakeem and Shaq, but we all wanted to see Michael and Hakeem.
Listen, that was Orlando versus Houston. That time was men playing with boys. That was Elijah saying, Elijah won to this day, and people argue with me because about how great Shaq is. Shaq was the most dominant center in a time when the center position now it's at its worst. Yeah, but it was already over.
On the decline. Yeah,
it was already
5 years earlier. 5 years earlier, Shaq would have had some trouble.
He was having trouble. He
had trouble with the team because his whole game was predicated on, I'm going to back you down and stomp on you and step on you and dunk, and the league's going to let me do it. And Hakeem's game was predicated on, you're not going to back me down. I'm not going to be there. I'm going to put some pressure. I'm going to move. I'm going to put some pressure. I'm going to move. And on the other end, you're going to try to stop me with your hands, and I'm going to spin and spin and spin and step and move. And Shaq couldn't do any of that. But that's what, Hakeem, as amazing as he was, you figure he came in the University of Houston. He never played basketball. It was footwork and handwork that he was good at from his years playing soccer in Africa. But when you go against David Robinson all the time, and Brad Doherty and Mark Eaton and Patrick Ewing and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, night after night after night, you have to reinvent your game every night. And Hakeem did that every night. Even at the end of his career, he'd do something. He'd be like, wow, just when you think you've seen every permutation of the Dream Shake, he does something else. Shaq never reinvented his game. Shaq was the low post he was dominant, low post dominant player, but he had nothing else. Couldn't even shoot a free throw.
No, and that's the thing that we all seem to forget too. And don't be wrong, Shaq is a great personality. He was exactly what the league needed as far as a personality was concerned. He was a guy who could deliver the one-liners. He helped draw attention. But as far as a basketball player, he was mediocre at best at the center position. Olajuwon is the best center that I've seen since from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar retiring till now. I can't think of a better center from Olajuwon. Take you inside, take you outside. He's gonna play defense on you. He can just hurt you in every way possible. All right. So Bill,
we were talking to one of the guys in our show that played against him. Oh, Cedric Maxwell.
Yes.
Remember Cedric Maxwell said, "Man, I've never seen a guy who's going to hurt you in 4 categories every night: scoring, rebounds, assists, and blocks, defense." I mean, and that's what, when you go back and watch film of Olajuwon, I mean, he was just mind blowing. The way he'd block shots. He's 3 feet above the rim blocking a shot. He'd be on the weak side over towards the 3-point line. Somebody shoots on the opposite side of the court and he blocks the shot. And how did he get from over there to over there? It was just unbelievable to grow up watching that, watching him. I saw almost all of his games. To grow up watching him, I'm sure was just as special for me as those who grew up in Chicago. Jordan was okay. For me, from a fan standpoint, I didn't care about any other team. I was in Houston, and by God, I'm going to support the local team. And Hakeem never disappointed.
No, compared to what I went through with the Nets, I was always disappointed. Next week, Bill, unless something changes where we end up having a magical guest between now and then, next Tuesday afternoon, Bo Outlaw will join us in the huddle, courtesy of the Orlando Magic. So be ready for that. Bill, would you like to tell the people over at Jakku where they can find you on social media?
Well, absolutely. If you want to catch me on Twitter, it's at the Rocket Guy. And when I'm writing about basketball, I always post it there. If I'm not writing about basketball, my personal blog is ishmaelslegacy.com. We write about pretty much everything else besides the NBA. And of course, when I write about the NBA, it's at backsportspage.com.
All right. And of course, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at RandyBSP. Haven't done much on Instagram lately. This is obviously
I
football
don't get
season.
Instagram. I'm on it. You know, Brianna got me on Instagram, and my daughter put stuff on there. She's 9, and I log in to like stuff because, Daddy, like my Instagram. Okay, but I have Facebook and Twitter, and there's no void. I don't understand what void Instagram is filling.
It's basically Twitter with pictures, I guess, or Facebook with pictures. But follow us at backsportspage.com. Listen to our archives. Bill, we haven't done one of these in a while, so it's nice to see you again. We're going to have some good ones coming up, and of course with the NBA Finals starting this week, it'd be very interesting to see what happens with the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll give our opinion coming up, and look, I'm saying right now, I think the series might be a little closer than everyone's going to give it credit for.
Hey, when you've got Pat Riley in your organization and Eric Spoelstra is your head coach, and you've developed players the way they've developed players, and you've shocked the entire Eastern Conference, myself included, I'm not going to lie, I thought for sure it was Toronto, Milwaukee, or Boston. Of course, Giannis got hurt, but whatever. That's the league. Here's Miami. So I'm not prepared to count them out at all. Not one bit. Jimmy Butler did he pick a team. He knew what he was looking for in a team when he opted not to play in Minnesota, and he found it. And man, those guys, they can hurt you in a lot of different ways. The Lakers can really only hurt you in 2 ways. So
yeah, it's very true. And Eric Spoelstra might be one of the best, if not one of the best coaches in the NBA, or like top 2 or 3 coaches in the NBA. He's definitely in the top 5 because he has taken a bunch of guys and he has them believing. And look, it's going to be fun. And if Miami was able to pull this out, I'll tell you something. If you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, you're like, we got a chance next year because it can come out of nowhere. Bill,
man, they don't.
Bill, I had to put somewhere. They need some sort of hope. For Bill Ingram, I'm Randy Zellea. We'll catch you next time in the huddle here from backsportspage.com.